Hi everyone, I'm going to talk today about conspiracy theories. Now, this is a subject that's interested me for quite some time, primarily because at the moment in New South Wales, there's a particular party that is solely based on, if you like, conspiracy theories. And they're headed by two people. The leader of the party, which is the Australian One Party, is by the name of Ricardo Bossi, and the other person who is on the ticket, along with a group of other conspiratorial believers, is David Guru Graham. Now, I personally don't object to people having different views that are different to my own. I think it's great that we can have a debate about differing ideologies, differing views. I think we need to be respectful of each other, and we certainly need to understand where the other person is coming from, what it is about their beliefs that we disagree with, and listen to them talk about those beliefs and what they might disagree from us. That is an important part of the debate. But we don't tend to get that. We tend to get one version, and we tend to get that particular people who object to that particular person generally say unkind things about them. And I guess to some extent, I've probably done that myself. So I'll take full responsibility for anything I might have said about any of these two people, anything that I do say about them which is derogatory, because I still may do that in talking to you today. Now, Ricardo Bossi is a guy who is the leader of this group, if you like, to some extent, because he is a right-wing individual who has declared that if he got into Parliament and he had all the power that he thinks he's going to get, which he isn't, but he thinks he is, then he would do what he could to hang people, to execute those people who had different beliefs to him. He's the sort of person that believes that the Masons govern the world, that George Soros is in charge of everything, that Jews are evil, and that the world is run by a cabal of people who sacrifice young children and drink their blood, and that key politicians, whether it be Biden, Obama, Hillary Clinton, left-wing politicians, obviously, Democrats in the United States, and here in Australia, probably any politician who's got power is involved in this sort of bizarre behaviour. Now, a person who believes those beliefs is frankly entitled to believe whatever they like. I don't really care. What I do care about is the influence that they have on other people. Particularly in this case, the influence that these sort of people like Bossi have on people like David Graham and the people that follow him. I find that these people tend to be easily led, and I question as to why this is the case. What is there about a group of people who want to believe a certain set of beliefs, and whether or not having those beliefs are dangerous or not? Now, it is not unusual for people to hold a series of differing beliefs. We see that in religions. We've seen it for centuries, that there's a certain group of people who hold a certain set of beliefs, and as a result of those beliefs, if they're in power, they do some pretty terrible shit. And we also know that the people that hold those beliefs do some things which in today's times would be absolutely unheard of, abhorrent, and wouldn't be permitted by law. We also know, though, that people that hold those beliefs, particularly in the priesthood, are those who have been abusing children. So I need to be aware, or I am aware, I should say, of Christian beliefs and how they have governed and how they have manifested themselves in harmful ways to the people that they're supposed to be leading. I also know that some of those beliefs transcend into other areas of people's lives. For example, recently, David Graham particularly got upset because the Lifesaving Club down his way at Wollongong had chosen to put up pride flags, and the nippers and the young people would run onto the beach and down to the water between these flags. Now, that was the Surf Lifesaving Club of honouring diversity and accepting that, this is a part of our society. They're not against it. They're celebrating that form of diversity. But David chose to believe, or does believe, that homophobia, that sexual orientation is wrong, that this is encouraging our children to believe a certain belief system that says that homosexuality is okay. His version of that is that that's wrong, that will teach young people to be gay. The reality is that he has a fear, his own fear, perhaps about his own sexuality, and that comes out in his abhorrent statements about these pride flags. And he confronted a lot of people, upset a lot of people at the beach who were just volunteers, Surf Lifesaving Club volunteers, and this created a bit of a stir to the point whereby he even received some coverage in the Daily Mail in the UK. He enjoys that. He enjoys the coverage. He enjoys the sense of being important. And he enjoys running a segment every night on YouTube, and I don't know whether he does YouTube anymore because he's probably not allowed to, but certainly on Facebook and through a range of other social media outlets. Then there's Riccardi Bossi. Riccardi is a guy who, when you see him standing next to David, you see this tall, solid individual wearing a suit, and David looking like he's a derelict. And the comparison could not be starker. Bossi wants power. He wants to control and govern people. He wants people to be eliminated that disagree with him. He's homophobic, he's racist, he's everything you could possibly imagine that is unsavoury and something that we don't want in this country. However, they're entitled to believe whatever it is that they believe. The question for me is, why do they believe what they believe? And whether or not we should give them the coverage that they tend to get. Well, we give people this sort of coverage because it's a novelty, it's different, they're pushing the boundaries in a certain way. And I guess we need to be able to say, okay, this is what's happening out there. The media get attracted by it, the media get sucked in by it, and as a result, it gets some coverage. But we need to be wary, very wary. So why do they believe what they do? It's because we live and we work in certain silos. Because I'm a Democrat socialist and I believe in equity and fairness, and wherever I see inequity and unfairness, I'll make a stand. I'll complain about that. So I live in that silo. They live in a different silo. Their version of fairness and equity is kind of different to mine. They're fearful that the government is taking everything away from them, that society is so corrupt that those people who are in power just because they're in power are corrupt. They believe that they should tear the system down and start anew with their version of reality. They believe in end times and that the world itself is going to be destroyed, that the internet's going to fall apart, that we're all going to find that our children are taken away from us and that we'll be left alone and bewildered. That's their belief. My belief is that if we're going to change this system, we need to change it from within. We need to object to what we see as being the unfairness in this world, and we need to do something about it. We need to pick out things like homelessness. We need to work with things like mental well-being, children being removed from their parents when they shouldn't be, a system which generally is not very transparent. And we're aware of this stuff because robo-debt is an example where some of these things, where the injustices that have been done have come to the fore. We have a legal system that, as difficult as it is and as costly as it may be, at some point will help us to deal with and to manage the injustices done in our society. Democracy is not perfect, but unfortunately it's the best we have. We don't need to destroy it in order to improve it. Destroying the system in Germany in the late 1930s through to 1945 didn't create necessarily during that period a better Germany. What did was what happened afterwards. Once the errors and the erroneous beliefs that were associated with Nazi Germany were eradicated entirely. My fear is that those sorts of beliefs will become profound, that they will generate a sense of unrest within our own society, and that revolution may take place in a way which will be governed by the likes of Riccardo Bossi. And we need to be wary of that, and we need to talk about it, and we need to be honest about how people like he and David Guru Graham will impact us. So they live in that silo which tells them that these conspiracy theories that they wish to believe in are what will govern them, and that we need to be awake to all of these theories which they argue, and Guru keeps saying this, David keeps telling us that he's always right. Well, there's nothing he's said or done that has proved that he is right. He never talks about robo-debt, which is an issue right at this very moment, which is being disclosed to all of us, about the betrayal that was performed upon the lower classes in Australia, the underprivileged, the people that couldn't fight back, those people on Centrelink payments. He doesn't talk about robo-debt because they don't have that intellectual capacity, and neither does it suit their narrative, really. It should, but it doesn't. So they're talking about overarching issues, the conspiracy theories about the cabal and how politicians are, sacrificing children and drinking their blood and a whole lot of horrific notions such as that. They don't confront the real issues that sit in our society, the ones that concern me the most and which I would think concern most of you. They don't. An interesting thing, well, the other day I was looking at some TEDx talks on conspiracy theories, and it became evident that one of the interesting information that came out of that was that we gather information from wherever we can because we simply can't retain it ourselves. That they worked out, neuroscientists worked out that we hold 1 gigabyte of data in our heads at any given time. 1 gigabyte. On this flash tube, this USB, I have 64 gigabytes, right? So it carries 64 times more than what I carry in my head. So because we can only carry so much data, we need to gather it from elsewhere. We need to go to the internet, look for experts, see our doctor, see those people that are experts in certain fields so they can educate us at that time and give us information that's relevant to us. Anti-vaxxers are a good example where it didn't matter what information that they had, and the experts offering that information, the best experts in the world, didn't matter to them because it didn't conform with the beliefs that they held about society, about experts, about where information is gathered and how it's imparted to them. They didn't care. They wanted to live within that one bubble which says that vaccinations were wrong and were harmful. And there was an example of this not long ago where in Canberra they had a rally, a freedom rally, and in that rally they had put out all these A4 posters, if you like, depicting people that had suffered from the vaccine. Now, there are lots of people who, during that period where we were being vaccinated, did suffer, did die, and did develop other symptoms, which they probably would have developed had they been vaccinated or not. It wouldn't have mattered. However, because it happened within this time frame, the conspiracy theorists will argue that it was the vaccine that caused these problems. We know that that's not true, just simply not true. But because it fulfills their argument, and because it equates with their beliefs, then it becomes a fact for them. Without proper resources, without proper research. So one of the things that they do, and the flat earth people believe this too, that if you want to find out the information that you need to find out about whether the earth's flat or not, you simply do your research. Well, if you're going to research in only one area, sure, the world is flat. If you're going to research in other areas, like astrophysics, like astronomy, then you're going to find that there's probably a different answer altogether. It is about what it is you wish to believe and what you choose to believe and where you seek that information. I seek a lot of information from left-wing media, but I do not ignore right-wing media either. I look to see what it is that they're thinking that either fits with or doesn't fit with my particular values. So I'm always evaluating where my values sit. What are those values and what's important? My values are about equity, fairness. That is what's important to me. And when I see something that's not fair, I want to fight against that. But I try to do it in ways which are reasonable and which are about confronting the systems that support unfairness. That's what we all should be doing. We shouldn't be taking way out wacky theories and making them into something that we believe is reality. Now, the notion around conspiracy theories and different beliefs has been here forever. There are some of us who choose not to believe Christian beliefs. There's some of us who would believe that a heaven and a hell, a place in which we go to because either we're a sinner or we're not, is indefinable. No one knows where that is or what it is. No one's been there, come back and told us about it. It just doesn't happen. Some people have spiritual moments, I agree. Some people have awakenings, things that they've started to realise they've never realised before about themselves and about the world. I understand all of that as well. But the fact that there is no place, in my view, such as a heaven and a hell, apart from the one we make of ourselves on earth, which I believe is about creating a place in which we feel comfortable, which fits with who we are, and where we can work and live harmoniously with other people, I think that's a better place. And that's the place I strive for in my life, and I strive for those people that I love and care for. But it's a theory, a conspiracy theory about heaven and hell that has been with us. And it doesn't matter what background you come from. You know, they're the most intellectual, smartest people in the world who believe in that sort of theory. But there are some of us who don't. But we don't have to hate the other person because they have a different belief than what we do. We don't have to suggest that those people need to be hung, drawn and quartered. And neither do we have to suggest that because people hold a differing view from us that they are all pedophiles or that they're all corrupt. We don't have to hold a belief that says that because you're in the legal system and you're a lawyer or that you're a judge, that you're corrupt. but there are people that do. The problem I have is that it's okay to accept those beliefs as being different. We don't have to have arguments about them. Sometimes we just need to accept the difference. The problem is that those people holding those beliefs encourage other people who also hold those beliefs to do some horrific things. There's many examples of mass killings, whether it be the killing in Christchurch or whether it be that in the United States, where there are many, where people have been radicalised by these views. The people like Bossy and David, they are radicalising people who hold the similar views to them. They are responsible, as Trump was responsible, for what happened on January the 6th. There is a sense of responsibility, is that when you hold a certain view that is about hatred and fear, that you pass that view on to somebody else and they act upon it. It is our responsibility to ensure that whatever it is that we do, it is producing a sense of harmony and peace, not a sense of fear, resentment, violence, and hate. If your views are producing that, and if you're encouraging people to act in violent ways towards others, to kill people simply because they have a different view of the world than you do, then you're the one that needs to be locked up. You're dangerous. And this is the fear I hold about particularly Riccardo Rossi, is that he holds views and he supports others who hold similar views that are about violence. And that is wrong. And for that reason, we need to confront these people. We need to ensure that their views are eradicated, or not eradicated, that's the wrong word, that we understand where they're coming from, that we could monitor, in fact, those people that are influenced by those views, and that we need to be wary of where those views are going to go, who it is they're going to influence, and whether or not any of those people that they're influencing will act in ways which will harm others. So we need to be mindful. I've decided we can't turn a blind eye to these people, that ostensibly they're dangerous. They may not recognise the danger that they hold. They may not understand the influences that they have. But there's a narcissistic quality about some of them, which makes me think that they, if they could be, they would be the worst of autocrats. And that we cannot, therefore, give them any power or influence beyond what they already have. Because if we do, they will cause a corruption and an erosion in our society from which it will take us a long time to recover. Thanks, everybody, for being with me. If you want to, I'd like to think that you subscribe. I'm trying to get my membership up, my subscriptions up. So could you please subscribe down here? And if you have any questions, could you please email me on the email address also that I've listed below. Thanks, everybody, for being with me. Take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.